Hello guys and welcome back to Tierspec TV. Last time you saw us do a video on my Defender project, you would have seen us transporting my new galvanized chassis up to my home, and I said that all that was left to do at that point was just get the chassis painted so we could get started. Admittedly, that was a little while ago now, and things have developed slightly since then. So I originally thought I was just going to paint the chassis myself, as if that's a relatively easy thing to do, but then I sort of procrastinated and wasted a lot of time trying to figure out the best way to go about doing that, what products to use, etc, etc, and perhaps realizing it was a bigger job than I might have originally appreciated, and also obviously wanting to make sure it's done to the highest standard possible. So when I realized I was not really coming to any conclusions, I wrote a post in the Danish Land Rover Club Facebook group asking if there was any recommendations, because Richard's Chassis, who produced my chassis, do provide a document with recommendations for products to use and a sort of guide to how you should go about painting your chassis, because with a galvanized surface it's not as simple as just, you know, getting a paintbrush out and start painting. There's quite a lot of prep work that has to be done. And the products that they named and recommended, I just couldn't find in Denmark, and I didn't know what the equivalents were. So like I said, I made this Facebook post asking, like, look, what am I supposed to use? Has anyone done this before, etc, etc. And I got a lot of great suggestions. I got tons of comments giving me recommendations of products to use. However, someone I know also reached out to me and said that he's done a couple of chassis swaps now, and he'd done one where he painted the chassis himself, and then the one after he decided just to get another company to paint it for him, and he said in hindsight it was a much better decision just to go and get a company to do it for him, given the time and money that he invested, you know, versus doing it yourself, that it made way more sense just to get someone else to do it. And then at that point I went, yeah, that would probably be better. And as stupid as it sounds, I don't think I had really considered the possibility of just, you know, getting a company to do it for me. And I don't know why. It seems obvious. I just assumed that, like, oh, I'm just going to do it myself, it'll be cheap and quick and easy and whatever. Obviously that's not the case. So long story short, I started looking into companies in my area that could paint my chassis. I reached out to a couple. One of them said that it was actually too large for their facilities for them to do it. Another one simply didn't get back to me. So again, I felt a bit stumped. I'm like, okay, is there somewhere around here that can actually do this? Eventually I did locate one that said, yep, we can do that. They responded very quickly, said we can do it next week. And so I said, great, I'll bring the chassis over to you next week. And I dropped it off. It's now Thursday today, and I dropped off the chassis on Monday morning, first thing Monday morning. And yesterday afternoon, so Wednesday afternoon, they emailed me saying it's ready to collect. So it took 2 days, which I found amazing. And like I said, you know, they had availability basically immediately. So that was great. And it just so happens as well that this place is pretty much next door to the place that I actually work. So I'm driving the Jimny with a trailer on the back to work today, which is also why I'm dressed, you know, slightly more smartly than you're probably used to seeing me on this channel, because I'm going to go to work, and on my way home I'll swing by this place and grab the chassis, put it on the trailer, and head back home. And I cannot wait to see the finished result. And now when I say that we can get started on this project, I actually mean we can get started on this project, because we should have a painted chassis now ready to go. And I think I'll probably talk more through my decision of, you know, painting versus not painting, etc, and all of that later on. But now let's just get the chassis back home, take a look at it. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen any pictures or anything. So yeah, I cannot wait to see. I mean, I guess it's just going to be a black chassis, isn't it? But still, just like, it's a blank canvas, isn't it? That's what excites me. It's like seeing it is like, yep, I can actually go and bolt things to this now. That is just, makes me so excited. So yeah, I'm about halfway to work now. I'm sitting in traffic, as you can probably tell. It's 7:30 in the morning. And yeah, let's get there. And at the end of the day, I'll go grab it. And I don't actually know where this video will progress from this point. It might skip to a completely different day where I'm with Nissa and we actually start working on this. I just thought it would be nice to kind of give you an update, you know, and you can see what I'm actually doing here, going to pick up the chassis. So yeah, I'll see you in whatever the next clip is, whether that's later today, whether that's another day with Nissa, with us working on the chassis. See you in a bit. So it is now the following weekend, and as you can tell, the chassis is safely back home. The Jimny did a great job of towing it. I think with the trailer and this combined, it was probably close to the towing capacity of the Jimny at 1,300 kilos, but it did the job absolutely fine. However, getting the Defender out of the garage down there, well, that does exceed the towing capacity. Fortunately, my dad's Discovery 5 was on hand, so we used that to drag the Defender out into the sunlight for the first time in, well, frankly, months, and it shows. It's covered in dust. Battery is completely dead, so even if it wasn't dead, actually, I have no idea how easy it would be to start because, like I said, it's been sitting there for quite a while. But today, I really want to get started on peeling bits off of this Defender, and I think the obvious place to start really is lifting the body off of the chassis so we can get like suspension and steering bits that are on this Defender, get those painted, and then get those onto this chassis to get a rolling chassis and then build it up from there. That's the obvious way to do it. However, I can't lift the body off the chassis with my tools and setup here at home. I'll have to wait for Nissa to be available once again for us to figure out a way to do that. But I'm impatient and it's been a while. I really want to get started. I've got a chassis that now, I know I've said it before, but we can actually start putting bits onto it because it is painted. It looks fantastic. So what I think I'm going to try and do today is try and get some of the front end of the Defender off, the bonnet, the fenders, the bumper, and start peeling that back because frankly, it all needs to come apart at some point anyway. And if we get the front fenders off, also we can start to see bits of the chassis underneath and poke around because I'm really excited and really curious to start poking around at this and just, I can't wait, it sounds weird, but I can't wait to lift the body off of it and just have a look at the chassis and compare it to this. Well, I say compare it, I mean, this is a brand new chassis. Obviously, it's completely perfect. There's nothing wrong with it, but still, it's going to be interesting to see like which parts have corroded and rusted the most. And then, yeah, look at this as in terms of how it is supposed to look over on this side. I can't wait to see what is lurking underneath that. So yeah, I'm just gonna, I don't really know what I'm doing. There's a surprising number of tutorials on YouTube that show you how to take those fenders off. So I'm probably gonna be going through some of those today. But I'm gonna be learning as I go along and trying my best to just peel bits off of this and I'm just going to take off whatever I can at this point, basically, because I just want to feel like we're making some progress. So yeah, I think that's about it. Let's get started on that. Okay, time for an update. A little bit of a random assortment of things taken apart at this point. Basically, I'm trying to get this sort of center piece of the front end out at the moment, and that is successfully done on this side. I was basically having a bit of a problem getting that, it's not going to focus, come on, that bolt that goes in there out, and I managed to basically undo the nut that's on the back of it with my fingers through that hole. But this one is proving a little bit more tricky, so I think I'm going to have to try and like get a spanner in through the eye socket here and onto the back side of that to be able to undo that. Otherwise, this bolt in here is just spinning, but that's the only thing holding that on right now. And at first, I was being a bit stupid because I was trying to undo these bolts up here, thinking that that's what was holding the top of this on, only to realize that that was actually holding this piece on, which also needs to come off, but will be much easier once this is off. This was being held on by just some screws up here, which were completely rusted, but I managed to just get them out before they were just disintegrated completely. And then this, I have no idea why, but I can't find anything that fits these at the moment, and they're different from what was on the other side. The other side just had conventional screws, and that's why I've taken the light out first rather than the whole thing at once with this eye socket piece here. So yeah, I'm trying to find something that fits those so I can get this out as well. But yeah, making slow progress at least. Another little topic is bolts and screws and bits, because obviously I want to reuse what I can, and I also need to know what goes where. Now this may look like a bit of a random assortment, but I do actually know where these bits go. This is all related to the, well, I was going to say it's related to the front end. I've only done the front end so far, so that's a stupid statement. But all of the bits in here should be stainless steel, as you can tell by the condition they're in. And those are the bolts for the bumper, which came with the RE bumper, I believe. And then all the screws are the things that fit the lights and the plastic panels and grill and stuff onto the front. Like I said, all stainless steel, so I'm going to keep hold of that, and it can be reused, and I know where those bits go, roughly. So that's fine to leave like that for now. There's a few other bits up here, which hold in other parts of this front grille section, which I'm going to replace, so I don't really care about these and mixing them up or anything, because they look like they've been deep fried. So yeah, these are pretty useless. So I don't care about those, I'm just using that as a little place to dump stuff at the moment. So, center section of the front end is now out. I just resorted to cutting this bolt because, yeah, I spent way too much time trying to undo it the proper way, and it just wasn't coming out. And I think that was the right decision, because if we look at this, that was the back side of it, and I don't think that's supposed to spin around. So yeah, I don't think there was any way or any choice really other than me just cutting that out. It's going to get replaced anyway. That's the good thing about this whole process, is we don't care too much about a lot of this process and how rough it is, because a lot of it is going to be replaced, frankly. Like I said, I want to reuse what I can, so I'm not going to be completely just guerrilla tactics on it. But yeah, in a lot of cases, you know, we can just rip stuff off, and it doesn't matter too much. So there we go. It's starting to sort of, I'm going to say take shape, but it's not. It's like the opposite of taking unshape, shall we say. And then I guess we can now try and remove these strut bars, and then it's sort of figuring out how you take off a Defender wing, I suppose. So apart from that left light socket, which I still need to remove, I think we've kind of done what we can for taking apart this front end without taking the wing off. So I think that's going to be the next step. So I may need to whip out Google and figure out where to start with that, because frankly, I'm not quite sure. But I would really, really like to get at least one wing off by the end of today, and I'd quite like it to be this one, to be honest, just because this is the side with the broken suspension, which we've shown a few times before, and I just think it'd be interesting to get a closer look at that. As you can see, there is a hole in this wheel arch lining right here, because the turret underneath there collapsed, and so every time you go over a bump, if you drive this Defender now, the shock absorber pops up to say hello. and it made a hole. So yeah, it would be cool to see that, just see how bad that is, and get a closer look at the chassis. So I'm not sure which side is technically the easier one to do. I'm sure there's one that's easier than the other. I'm guessing because it's a Land Rover, but hopefully it's this one. Yeah, let's give it a go. So as I said earlier, I couldn't find anything. That fit these screws that are holding. So as I said earlier, I couldn't find anything that would fit these screws holding in this light socket on this side. I have a set of Allen keys right here, and a 4 was too big and a 3 was too small. So I guess it was a 3.5, and I just managed to find a random Allen key which fit. So that one's the right size. God knows where it came from originally. Maybe it's from some IKEA furniture or something. Who knows? It's just one of those things that you just have lying around, I guess. But no idea why the other side had conventional Phillips screws on it, and this one had the hex pattern. I don't know. It's a Defender. I'm sure we're going to find many things like that as we go through it. But yeah, did not expect to be slowed down by that, but at least I can get these off now and we can finally start looking deeper into this wing. Okay. Don't think I'll be reusing that one. It just snapped in my hands. That's what's holding this car together. Status update. Wheel arch, trim, bit, mud guard thing, I don't even know what it's called, is off. And yeah, did not actually, I think I underestimated how much this would open up this space in here. You can see there's just a gap. Like, can you see that? There's a gap all the way around now, which should make this a lot easier. So yeah, probably should have done that sooner. But seems like we're on the right track at least. That was quite satisfying. Looks kind of cool without it, actually. Looks a bit mean. So anyway, yeah, next I think try and take this mud flap off and the bracket that holds it on. It's not standard because I've got that Gwyn Lewis mud shield kit, so it's got a slightly different setup with this sort of extra mud flap and extra bracket over here, which is also holding stuff in, I think, as it was with this mud guard. So I needed to get that out, and then I'm just going to continue with the strategy I'm doing, which is just undo all the bolts I can see, I think, at this point. But it seems to be working. It seems to be getting sort of, the wings just seems to be getting looser and looser. Looser? More loose? I don't know. As we go. So it's going to keep going down this path. I really want to get this wing off before we finish for today. Oh, there goes that bracket. And this bolt. There we go. I'll get the rest of it here. Okay. Yeah, see, this is the bracket, which is galvanized, of course, from Gwyn Lewis. And yeah, absolutely no signs of like corrosion or anything, and that's been there for a while. That's how we like it. So that's going to come off nice and easily, and you can actually see, so that was the first bolt for the mud flap. There's two more, and then there's one down at the end which is not going through the mud flap, but it is for the bracket of this mud shield kit. So that's already like flexing quite a lot, so when I get those out, I think that's going to help. And then there's a bolt there, and there was one more I thought somewhere. Oh, there's one here. It's so muddy. I really should have washed this inside the wheel arches before doing this. I didn't really think about it till I started, and then I couldn't be bothered. This literally looks like this has just been dug out of the ground. This is not mechanical work. This is archaeology. That's what this is right now. I feel like that sound is almost iconic at this point, back from that video where we showed that from the first time.
it's rusted to the point where there isn't anything to be rusted more.
Just taking a couple more bolts out from inside here, and it is definitely getting looser. Not that you can really tell on camera, but you can tell that it's still attached down here somewhere, and I can now see that there's some bolts going, there's some bolts going up along this edge, going into the bulkhead, I guess, and I believe there's something here which attaches to the sill as well, which needs to come out. So I'm going to get those out and then see where we're at, and I think we'll be close then. Wow, that came out easily. Number 2. Initially, it seemed almost impossible to access the top 2 bolts holding the wing to the bulkhead, but then I realized the duct for the air intake could easily be removed to allow access to them. Then, at this point, my dad jumped in to offer an extra pair of hands, and it was just a case of removing a few last clips, wires, and the power steering reservoir to get the wing free. So it took the best part of a day, but finally that wing is off. It actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was once I kind of got the momentum of just undoing bits every time I found a bolt or a clip or whatever, and eventually, you know, it kind of came off, and my dad jumped in to provide an extra pair of hands there towards the end as well, because there was a couple of bits that were halting progress a bit. So, you know, I kind of got that mud guard off, and that was all kind of going well, and then discovered the bolts that attach to the bulkhead up here. You can see these holes, and we got the first 2, no problem. They're very easy to access, and they were not done up tightly, so they just came straight out. And then this one, the third one from the bottom, was quite tricky, because you had the kind of air intake from the side grill here blocking access, but then figured out that that could actually be taken out, so did that. You can see the pipe is just open right there, and then that one, again, kind of same thing, but eventually figured out a way to get to it, and then it was just like clips and wires and things that were basically just hanging onto the side there, which we eventually undid, and then it all came off in one go. I don't know if, like I said at the start, I don't know if one side is known to be worse than the other, but we've done that side now, the one with the heater matrix on it. So that side with the washer bottle will be next, which I'll probably do off camera, to be honest. I mean, you see me do one side, I don't think I need to do a whole nother video for the other wing. And then after that, it'll hopefully be a case of getting the body off of the chassis, and then the ball will really start rolling with this project. And yeah, as I said, we can take a little better look at the chassis now, and this will hopefully help when we come to taking the body off, so we can access it a bit better, and more easily get to the bits we need to get it off. You can see that infamous turret, which is just completely collapsed. We can see it in full daylight now, just how bad that looks. And down here on the outrigger, it's all very crusty and rusty down there. So, I mean, the chassis, frankly, is just covered in a layer of mud at the moment, so it's probably hiding a lot. But I don't think this part here is necessarily the worst bit. Obviously, that has failed, and the outriggers as well, but that's common. So it'll be interesting to see what we discover when we get underneath all of that. And now I've got a bit of stuff to tidy up. Got to put this all somewhere, of course. Got the bonnet and the bumper, and the RE steering guard, or also an RE bumper, but the RE bumper and the RE steering guard, which I took off as well. Yeah, and then all of these bits, some of which will be reused, of course. I think that's it for this time. I'm really happy to have gotten this done today, even though it is just a wing. I guess it's always going to be a bit of a slow start once you're figuring things out, but hopefully the other side will be a bit easier now that I've done one. And then, like I said, getting the body off the chassis, as if that's going to be easy. And then we can actually start building rather than kind of unbuilding as we are right now. So, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.